welcome to the 6th variation of Sevcik's 40 variations. This one is about combining detachet and spiccato, and as preparatory exercises I suggest you work at this in scales. Now the first thing you have to know, if you're combining jumping bowings with bowings which don't jump, you have to sort out your bow that it's optimal for the jumping bowings. So you find the place of the bow where the spiccato works best, and then you're more or less forced to do the detachet in exactly that same place because you can't change bows. Now detachet is actually quite practical in the middle and upper half. That's nice and comfortable, but you can forget trying to do any spiccato there, that won't work. You can't control the bow. So spiccato is best around the point of balance or slightly above, depending on the speed which you're doing the spiccato. If you're doing a slow spiccato, like this, then you're sort of forced to do the detachet right there too. So the first thing you do is find the place where you want to do the spiccato. If you want to do the spiccato faster, you move a bit more to the middle, then you can do the detachet there as well. So decide on a speed that you want to do. I would suggest, of course, to start slowly. So you go, you do the spiccato here, raise your wrist so that it's nice and light. And practice that in scales until you feel comfortable. And then do the detachet in the same place. You need quite a bit of finger action if you're doing the spiccato in the lower half of the bow. So that's the finger action we talked about in the previous variations. It's a passive movement, but you need to be able to do it. So if you haven't done this yet, go back to some previous variations. Variation 1, for example, is about the finger action. And practice that so that you can... So that most of the action is actually the hand and the fingers, and definitely not the whole arm because it's just too fast to move that much of your body up to speed. So practice those separately, and when you can do that, then start combining them. Now, as you can see, for the detachet, I have to drop my wrist to add weight to the bow. If I don't do that, the bow will jump. Remember, the bow jumps if you don't do anything about it. You've got to do something to stop it from jumping. So if you don't want it to jump around, you need more weight. You do that by dropping your wrist. I'll try to show you. You drop it in this direction and you tilt the bow more towards the bridge so that you have flat hairs. You don't need to tilt it more than flat hairs, but tilt it so that it's straight and you're using all hairs. So that's what you need for the detachet, like that. And then if you do the spiccato, you raise your wrist. So the whole thing goes, I'll try to show you really slowly. I've exaggerated the movement a little bit for you to see. Later on up to speed, it's... So practice that in scales until you feel comfortable with the combination of the two. And now a very, very important thing for it to become precise is do not lift your bow before you've played the first spiccato note. The change from detachet to spiccato is on the string. So you're on the string and you lift the bow after the first spiccato note. That's necessary because if you lift it before, you're basically shortening the last detachet note. That would be... And you're bringing insecurity into it, you're not as controlled, you're shortening the wrong note, and it doesn't sound good. It's more precise if you lift the bow after the first spiccato note. The spiccato means that the end of the note is shortened, not the beginning. That's very important. I'll remind you about that when we go through the variation as well, because it makes a really, really big difference. So you lift it after you've played the first spiccato note. The first spiccato note starts on the string. That's very, very important. Okay, work on these preparatory exercises before you start working on the variation, because it makes the variation a lot easier. Now, when I start practicing this variation, the first thing I do is I practice sound and intonation, because that's basically what you want. You want it to be in tune and you want it to sound good. I do that quite slowly with a maximum sound, and I do the string crossings as double stops to secure intonation and secure the hand position. So what I do is much slower than what you need later on, but it helps to practice it with a big sound and also to do the string crossings in double stops. So I would suggest to start off like that. Now the next thing is that the detached notes, each group of 4, the first one has an accent. So to be able to do that, what you need to do is you have to catch the string for the accent. So practice that and practice it exaggerated. You catch the string by basically adding weight to the stick of the bow. We had that also in one of the previous variations, but I'll explain it again. You put your bow on the string, you add weight to the stick of the bow, and you can actually move the string from side to side without the hairs moving. And when you start playing, you release. That's what you need for the accents in the detached. So you practice it slow enough that you have time to catch the string. Of course, when you play it up to speed, you won't have that much time to catch the string, but if you've practiced it slowly and practiced it catching the string, enough will be left over to put a slight accent on the first of each group of 4 of detached. So that's one part which is very important. The other part, which I mentioned in the preparatory exercises, is to lift the bow after the first spiccato note, because otherwise you won't be precise. So you have the detached. You lift it after the F sharp, not before. You don't go and then try to hit the first spiccato note out of the air. That won't work out. So the transition from detached to spiccato is on the string. You lift the bow after the first spiccato note. That's very, very important. It might take you some getting used to, but you will notice that it is a lot easier and more secure and more precise, and it will sound a lot better. Then the other thing, for the detached, you need a lot of weight on the string, otherwise the bow will bounce. So drop your wrist when you do the detached and tilt the bow slightly towards the bridge so that you have all hairs. And for the spiccato, you lift your wrist so that you can do the spiccato and control the bow. Remember, you need finger action for that. If you haven't done that, go back to previous variations, starting variation 1. I explained the finger action there, which you need both for the detached and for the spiccato. Now, when you do it slowly, the spiccato will sound best around about the point of balance. So check where the spiccato sounds best, where you can control it nice, and do the detached there. precisely, with accents, and lifting the bow after the first spiccato note. That's already doing a lot for your bow technique. Don't try to speed it up too soon, because you're combining two different bow techniques here, and you need to know what you're doing. So start off at a slow speed. If you start doing it faster, you will move more towards the middle. So slightly faster would be already somewhere between the point of balance and the middle of the bow. Even faster, you would go even more towards the middle. That's, yeah, more or less almost in the middle. So the faster you get, the more you move towards the middle. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll be doing the next variation quite soon. Bye!